It didn't listen to me. It walked out of the thicket. It turned around and looked at me.
They looked up, and in this tree, there was a monkey man. And the monkey man jumped down out of the tree and started running away.
And suddenly they're right in front of the car. He slams on the brakes and manages to stop, and he's skidding because it's like quite, gravelly. And literally for about a second and a half, they just stood there because they don't know where to go, and you tell them panicking. They're like rib flapping, and their face is like twitching.
Welcome back to Bigfoot Society, a podcast where we focus on cryptids, the strange, and the unexplained of this world. If you've got a story or something weird to share, send an email over to me at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support this show, head on over to patreon.com/the Bigfoot Society. And now, on with the show. Hey, Bigfoot Society, I've got Mark on the phone. He's going to tell us about what he has experienced out in his neck of the woods. How's it going, Mark?
Not too bad. As usual, lots of kids in the house and bugs flying around, but not too bad. But anyways, as for the stuff I've experienced, I've been a believer ever since the early 70s when people were still talking about, Patty at the drop of a hat. When I was running through with some buddies in the woods back in outside of Traverse City, Michigan, I thought for sure I saw these good-sized prints, but everybody blew them off as bear. I didn't think they looked like bear tracks, but I was probably 11, so what did I know back then? Well, that's years and years later. 2019, I bring the family down here to East Tennessee. Everybody has this misconception, they still see it all the time, that to have interactions, you got to be out in. You good?
So you're currently in East Tennessee, you're saying?
Yes. I was asking because you just heard a lot of beep there. I didn't know whether we were still there or not. So, yeah, I'm in East Tennessee. I was in uniform for a very long time. I've been in some interesting places. I know when people are, watching me or when I'm being observed. So we're on the front yard. And this house we're in had been empty for a couple of years. When the grandkids are out ripping a tearing in the front yard, turn around talking to my wife and daughter sitting on the front porch, and I just caught something out of my corner of my eye. I turned to look at the wood line, which is probably 125 meters away. And there was this huge black shape. Obviously too far to see his face or anything. But after going out there later, I figured he was probably 8, 9 feet tall anyway. Shoulders were probably 4.5, 5 foot wide. Knowing this guy was big. I hope you don't mind the language, but of course the wife doesn't know what I'm looking at. I turn to look at him and I say, "What the F is that?" And he must have, even at that distance, he must have known that I had seen him. Because he turned to his left, my right, and as I sped off into the thicker underbrush, I could see he had long hair on his back because I could actually see it flow out behind him. Of course, I'm like, what the? Of course, the wife thought it. They always thought I'm a little nuts from my old job. And she didn't quite know whether to believe me or not, but I went out there the next day. But I didn't want to go out there right afterwards. But went out there the next day, and you could see on the outside of the electric fence, because this was where our horse pasture, where something had beat a heavily used trail down to that spot. And I could see when he took off, I could see broken branches and stuff that apparently he, plowed through on his way away from here. So that let me know that, okay, we're not alone around here. Well, I talked to a couple of the neighbors and whatnot. One guy, his family's been here for, generations. According to what he said, like half Cherokee, so he knows a lot of the stories around here. And just like some places, everybody thinks they're just stories. Well, some people around here, they just treat them as, the folks that live out in the woods. I've always done research this kind of, these guys quite a bit. I kicked it up even hotter after that, especially, for the locals and whatnot, because I want to know what I'm seeing around here. But that was the first time. So we got an above ground pool that we're putting up out back. This was some months later. And I get that itch again. I'm looking out through the woods. And this guy, he was red haired, so it wasn't the same one. And he looked like he was smaller. But they was doing that, the peeking from behind the tree thing. Well, I didn't get antsy or anything this time. I just treated him like he was a neighbor. Hey, how you doing? I see you back there. And it actually came out from about halfway behind the tree and stood there and watched us as we tried to put the pool together and whatnot. These guys must be, they're curious about what we do too. All these people tramping through the woods looking for them. Well, they're curious about us as well. And a couple months after that, I'll take care of, I have a daughter with special needs, she's fed through a G tube, and so I'm setting up her noon feeding. And this time I'm just looking out the back window. Back in the same general area, I saw the red-haired guy. And at first I thought, because we just had a big storm come through here not too long before that. I'm thinking, okay, that's just a tree stump, right? And what everybody says, what do you call them, stump squatches? But at first I'm thinking, nah, it's just a big old tree stump. I got hit by lightning because it was cut off. And then it starts swaying back and forth. I'm like, whoa. We got foster kids, so I take the two boys, bring them in there. Because the boys are 16 or 13 then. And I said, look right out there, and what do you see? He says, what? I said, look at that. It looks like a tree standing there. And then they go, both of them are like, holy crap, it's moving. And, yep. They're watching us again. So that was 3. And just recently, just a couple months ago, it shouldn't count as a sighting, but the horses were fine. But I've got a bunch of big dogs, and they were going just crazy out back. Around here, this area has not just those guys in the woods, like a lot of other areas. Some of the local folks are into, shall we say, homemade pharmaceuticals. So I wanted to make sure everything was good out there. I gave Bobby, my oldest foster boy, the spotlight. I grabbed my 45 and we went out there to take a look. And we got back there and the horses are fine. And the neighbor back to the woods as close as I could see his yard lights. And of course, there's this huge shadow sitting there. And by now, I don't act scared of these guys that much anymore. So I act like I'm just holding a conversation. And hey, how you doing, big guy? Just out making sure things are okay, this kind of thing. And then we notice, because I see his eye shine, so I know he's there anyways. And then he's got this huge shadow from the light. And we see something, just movement to our right. There's two more sets of eye shine at two different heights. Think, okay. Now we have a creek to our left, and from where we were standing, that was probably 75 meters down the hill. But in between these things, I've got pictures of tracks in my pasture, and I know a few of the trees out there where they've been observing the house. As you can see where they've like, the beaten down spots by the base of the tree, that kind of thing. Excuse me. Now, I know they come up out of that creek bed, because when it's dry, it goes all the way up the mountain, and it's heavily wooded on both sides. So, an elephant could walk down that thing without being seen. So I got three sets of eye shine around us already, and I hear something down in the creek. Rocks, getting knocked over. But the Bobby said, "You hear that?" And he says, "Uh-huh." And he's looking pretty scared. And so I turn around, I look back towards man, that's what I call him, is the big guy. So tell you what, we're gonna go back in the house. You guys have a good night. And make kind of a, I heard other people say this stuff, but says, tell you what, you keep keeping the black bears and the coyotes stuff out of my pasture. I'll bring you something tomorrow. I control the pistol with my left hand and raise my arm up, the way of hello. And he did it back, which made me feel pretty good that that this guy actually, and I could be wrong. I can go out in the woods behind the house again next time. He could appear and snap me in half. Obviously, he can do that being that big. But he acknowledged my presence, and I thought that was a good sign. So the next day, I raided this was before Halloween last year. I raided the kids' caramel apples, took two of them back there, and I actually climbed up into a tree a little bit, back close to where I'd seen him, and I shoved them down in some branches. So you had to pick them up and move them to take them. And I didn't, because it's the middle of the afternoon when I placed them. I just kind of looked around and said, "There you go, dude. Hope you enjoy." Went back to the house, minded my own business, and the following day, I went back out there. Both those apples were gone. No sticks, no chewed on cores. They were just gone. I think I might have spoiled them though. But I've tried to give him regular apples after that. He hasn't touched them. I laid a candy bar out there in the same tree. Oh, that was gone. I did Snickers. I took it out of the pack and lit it up in the tree. And shoved it on the branches again, so you had to work to get at it. And yeah, that was gone too. But so far, now I think I almost made him upset last year because he went around and trimmed the brush around the horse fence and got the electric fence working again. I'm just the way I'm thinking. I think I might have shocked him a little bit once I got it going again. Because a couple of days afterwards, if your listeners, and you probably know about it, you've seen the stories about like trees shoved upside down in the ground.
Sure.
Out by where I made my first sighting, I guess. It was about a 15, 20 foot tall, long log. Again, it was a part of a tree that had broken off and been there, but it was shoved 8 inches in rocky, mountainous Tennessee ground, and then the wider part was balanced up in the crooked and branches, way up high. I had some couple of buddies come over and we took it down. I was afraid it was going to fall on the fence and knock it down the next wind that comes through. And of course, he's blowing it off. It just, where it fell off, well, I could see where it snapped off. I'm like, trying to explain to him, I was like, dude. So that branch snapped off, flew 25, 30 freaking feet through the air, and landed perfectly in the ground and managed to shove itself from this ground and balance up there. I just said, whatever you say, man. So we pulled it out and left it laying there. The only thing I really found strange about all that after doing that, so that I figured I'd take him off and might have surprised him some with that 6,000 volts. A couple weeks later, something picked up the log and it was outside the fence. Why he cleaned that up, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know how these guys think, but I watch you guys in East Tennessee. I'm assuming you know who Scott Carpenter is. I watch all his stuff. So I just try to stay on good terms with the folks in the woods. So I walk the wood line and just try to talk and stay on good terms with them and say, look, out there's your area, and here's my area. As long as we keep it that we are good to go. And besides tracks through my pasture, I'm assuming it was him, because I've got a picture of one clear out of a trail. The damn thing is a left foot, perfectly clear toes, 20 inches long, and it's got to be 8 inches wide. And the stride was long enough where I'm not a very big guy, but I hit the jump from track to track. There's lots of stories of one showing signs of aggression. I talked to one guy that's not too far from me. Apparently, up there in the mountains, he's had the classic, rocks and stuff like that thrown at him. We go up there. We are in their yard, their living room. Apparently, he didn't like you being there. The only problem about all this is I haven't gone on trail walking in quite a while now. Just try to show some respect for these guys. So pretty much my experience with it, like I said, I track different size prints all the time through my pasture. Everything from, let's say his is 20. That one was 20 inches. The top was a smaller set that was going all the way back to the pasture, and that one looked like he'd have broken a toe one time because the big toe on the left foot was, you know, pointing in like drastically. It's not like they have anybody out there that can set their broken bones. But they've been as close as before I started talking to them on a regular basis. I found a trail that came all the way to the side of the house. But I haven't seen anything like that in a long time. So I figure maybe my getting on good terms with those folks was a good thing. I do have one vocalization. Them scaring some coyotes away. I have some security cameras outside. You can hear the coyotes. And this guy growled at him. You don't hear coyotes anymore. First I can figure they must have been arguing over a kill. Well, that's my stuff down here in a nutshell. So I go out to the pasture on a regular basis, see if anybody's been stepping over the fence and coming in. I know they like wild raspberries because I was following that trail from outside back in the pasture, and you can see where it stopped, and you rummage through the raspberries out behind, outside of the fence. And I don't really, I've told other people I don't care about proof anymore because I'm not worried about proving it when I know they're there. And because people have asked me when I finish this guy stepped back over the fence and apparently ate too many of those raspberries, if you get my meaning. He let them all drop in my pasture. It was quite a large pile. I got people, well, why didn't you scoop some up? I was like, because I don't care. And I don't want people around here out there going, hunting and whatnot. I'm a firm believer that certain agencies know that they've been doing things to them for years. Not considering my neighbor. Why the hell would I want a bunch of idiots running around the woods out here? So,
Mark, that is.
I want to say, man,
Oh, yeah, go ahead, please.
I've been following you for just going through YouTube one day, and I found your channel. I think I follow all the what I consider decent ones, and some people that don't like realize and VTV and all that. Because people say they have a bad reputation. It's like all they do is put out there what people post, as far as I know. But like you know, Steve Isdall, How to Hunt. Some of these guys, I've started reading and following Dave Pilates a lot. He's got I was 20 years infantry and 12 years of military cop. He was a long-time cop on the outside. So listening to him speak, it seems like we sort of think along the same wavelengths. So, dude,
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Before
it sounds like you're not really scared of having these creatures around your house at all.
Well, I know people describe even vets that as soon as they see one, all of a sudden they get this, the deep-seated fear.
Mm.
Is that some folks consider me a little different than a lot of folks.
Sure.
I've been in a lot of bad places myself. Been in some bad scrapes that every once in a while I had to pull myself out. Germany, I had, believe it or not, they have wild boars in Germany.
Oh,
they
yeah.
get about 300 pounds. I faced one down with a pickaxe one night years and years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, sure.
When they were exercising, we were on an exercise, all we had is blank rounds. And they decided to come down and start running through our gear and garbage. So I picked up the closest thing I could and get him out of there, and that was that axe.
Hmm.
So, am I totally brave that I walk out there and do something stupid that one of these guys won't, you know, fix my attitude? Oh no, because no, this is just my way of thinking. I figure they are people, a lot larger, stronger,
Mm.
and do things a lot different than we do. But just like people, some are, good guys and some are raging a-holes.
Sure.
Now, what worries me more about running out there is somebody found a 500-pound black bear sighting not too long ago. They're, they are known to freaking take people out.
Mm-hmm.
Campground about an hour and a half north of me. Last year, girl was in a hammock and a black bear pulled her out of her hammock.
Mm.
But there's been seems to be more dogman sightings in the same with the state lake in recent months.
In your area?
From Carpenter's got 2 videos that he took,
Oh, sure, yeah.
and I'm usually like I said, I've got this feeling when I'm being watched. Well, we were out there just checking the fence line just the other day, and it wasn't the same feeling. It was, I could tell something was out there that didn't want to do harm. And for a change of pace, usually I don't go near the woods without some, lead-based backup, shall we say.
Smart.
Well, I didn't take any with me that day, so I had 2 of the boys with me, and I'm like, let's get back to the house now. And then, obviously, we know that those are known to be violent. Look at the land between the lakes that everybody and their brother is investigating.
Sure, exactly.
I mean, that guy took out an entire family.
Mm. It's a terrible story. It just, yeah. Hmm.
So, if you, Appalachians, I thought, I did always been kind of a amateur researcher, anyways. But once I moved down here, there's tales of occult and creatures, and these mountains are full of just unexplained stuff. And come to find out, there was a family killed back here in '96, about 10 miles away from my house, and supposedly it was a satanic deal there.
Really? Oh, that's no good.
So yeah, this whole area, this area is known for weird stuff.
It's a lot of things going on in your area, it sounds like, for sure. It sounds like you haven't seen the last of the Bigfoot around your property, I would guess. From what you've said so far, you probably will have more encounters, for sure.
I have no problem in the world with that. So I try to show him respect. He shows me respect, and we're good. If the ones that's supposed to have the attitude show up, well, there are some advantages to being, a broken up veteran, because I do have some tools that might help with that.
Exactly.
But I'd rather not.
We'll leave that to the imagination. Yeah. Mark, this has been quite the conversation. I'm glad that we were able to connect and you were able to share what you've encountered so far. I would say when you have stuff happen in the future, definitely keep in touch with me if you could. I would love to do.
Mm.
I have a feeling there
Well, I've
could be a
got you
follow
on
up for sure.
Instagram now. Got you on YouTube, Instagram, and now Facebook. So,
Fantastic.
as a matter of fact, if you want the one very clear, I think it's very clear print. I can send you that later on if you want.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
It's
Yeah.
Well, it's the gauge size. I stood with as the uniform made me retire in 15, so I still wear my boots. Most comfortable foot gear I've got. So the track is in between my boots. And that's how I know it was about 20 inches because it's here we go. On another troll on another Facebook Squatch page going, well, good thing you're not a professional tracker. It's like, well, my tracking skills will get me out of bad stuff and bad places. So
They were good
you
enough.
don't know a whole lot.
Yeah, they were good enough for sure.
Well, man. So thanks for giving the attention.
Mark,
Do
I
you ever go to
appreciate you
these,
sharing for sure.
You ever go to these conferences?
I make it to some of them. If you see me at one of them, please come up and say hi. And that goes to anyone that is listening as well.
Well, I got tickets for the Smoky Mountain in July. So.
Oh, I got to get to that. I got to get to that one of these days for sure. But Mark, you keep in touch, sir. Thank you for hanging out with me for a bit, sharing your encounters, and hold on for 1 minute. Thank you for listening to Bigfoot Society. If you like the show, please review and rate it 5 stars on iTunes. Hit the share button and send this episode to all your friends on social media. Subscribe to Bigfoot Society wherever you listen to podcasts. It doesn't cost a thing. Pick up a Bigfoot Society shirt or enamel pin over on our Etsy page, and people will tell you all about their Bigfoot sightings when you wear it. At least that's what people tell us. That's what happens. If you'd like to become an official member of Bigfoot Society with a membership card, a community of like-minded individuals, and extra content each month, then please consider becoming a supporter of the podcast by going to www.patreon.com/The Bigfoot Society. Thanks for listening.